I would like to introduce our last speaker, who is a Hungarian national and completed his PhD in molecular plant breeding from Corvinus University in Budapest. In 2004, he joined the Hungarian Seed Association as professional assistant, and in 2006, he was appointed to the position of Secretary General. He is currently the Regulatory Affairs Manager of International Seed Federation. Today, he will talk about new plant breeding innovations. Let us all welcome and listen to Dr. Szabolcs Ruthner, or Sabi, as you can see from his screen. Sabi, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Sunny. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thank you very much for the invitation to this very important event. I think a little bit shifting topics compared to the previous speakers, because I will speak about plant breeding and innovation, and more about genome editing, which is mostly known by everybody today. So I haven't made really specific slides on how genome editing works, because I think there are numerous videos and educational tools which deals with this topic. But potentially, because in the previous presentation we spoke about GMOs. So basically, the biggest difference in genome editing, that most of the application used today by plant breeders and plant scientists are working within the species' own gene pool without the introduction of transgene. Before I speak about the presentation, just a few words about International Seed Federation for those who don't know our organization. So we are the voice of the international seed sector. We have national seed associations members. We have currently 58 national seed associations who are members of ISF, and we are present in 75 countries. And directly or via the National Seed Association, we are representing more than 7,000 companies. This presentation, it's a short time frame, and I need to cover quite a bit. So I will give you a kind of high-level overview that what is plant breeding innovation and why it's important, why we need enabling and supporting and globally aligned policies. And in the last part of the presentation, I will show you some trends in research and developments and about some products which are already on the market. So when we are speaking about plant breeding innovation and genome editing, we always want to speak about as a continuum of all the knowledge as plant scientists and breeders are accumulated in the past. So this is part of the plant breeding activity. This is part of the toolbox what plant breeders are using. And the main aim is, what is the plant breeder's aim? Is to increase and create genetic variability when they can use to develop new characteristics. So I think the main takeaway message, and this is a good slide, it shows that with this induced genetic variation, what we create either by random mutation, either by gene editing or introducing a transgene, this is part of the breeding cycle, the everyday work of the breeding. So even if genome editing exists and it will be used in the past, it won't make earlier method obsolete. So like crossing and selection will be still part of the plant breeder's daily work. This is just help us to do it more precisely, more efficiently, and create more genetic variation. I think when we are thinking about this thing, we need to look at this kind of comprehensive way, and we shouldn't single out any application from this comprehensive view. And also this is the segue to the policies. So the utilization of any kind of technologies, it's pretty much depend on the policies and the regulation surrounding the technology. And I think it's we have past examples that if an area is over-regulated, it's put a significant burden on the usage of any kind of technology. And usually what happens, only those companies and those stakeholders can use those technologies which have more financial means. So it means the largest companies, and also it could be only utilized in the highest value crop and the highest value traits. And I will show you some example that is absolutely not the case today with genome editing. So basically, one of our biggest aim as the international seed sector, as the representative ISF, is to make sure that we have a science-based and consistent policies across the countries, which are pretty much facilitate innovation and collaboration. And these are because seed is an internationally traded good. These policies need to be consistent across countries and economies. So there are three factors which are affecting how a policy is predictable for the industry, for the seed sector. So first of all, there needs to be common criteria and agreement to determine the scope of the regulatory oversight, or which products will fall under to the GM regulations or biotech regulation, and which products will be considered as conventional. I think this is scope. We know that there will be different regulatory tools, how the countries, based on their tradition use of biotech product, will look at it, and there will be different type of regulatory framework, but the scope needs to be pretty much aligned. And there needs to be some alignment on the implementation of the criteria, and also the type of information that regulators ask from the developers, because if it's too prescriptive, it's too much details, it could look at as a kind of risk assessment type of information exchange, which can also hinder developers and make this a bigger financial and administrative burden. So I don't want to go to the details, but I think the basic principle what the industry and the plant breeding sector argues, that if a plant variety is developed through the latest plant breeding methods, such as genome editing, shouldn't be differently regulated if the outcome, if the product or the variety is similar or indistinguishable varieties that could have been produced through earlier breeding methods, including random mutagenesis, for instance, or it can be found of nature, found in the nature. And I think it sounds pretty practical and reasonable, and luckily many countries are following this footstep. So this is a map. I don't have time to explain in detail what's happening in every countries. I think from what is the takeaway from here, that those countries who are in dark green, these countries have supporting legislative framework which exempt some of the product from the GM tech regulation and considered as conventional products. The way is different because there are some product-based approach, there are some process-based approach, but what is important here, that it's already some good examples existing, which makes genome edited products and varieties easily accessible for research and also for product launch. I think for this, and I think this is a timely discussion here today, because especially in the Southeast Asian region, there are countries who are started developing their policy framework. So Philippines, I think there is a very good development. So they have a guidance, a draft guidance, which is very much following the principles I just mentioned. In Thailand, the discussion just started. Also in Singapore, there was a draft guideline on the food and feed import aspects of genome-edited products. So things are started to happening in the southeastern region. So that's why I think it's important to speak about genome editing as well, besides the classical biotech products. Some examples. What it's either in research and or the last two products, the high oleic acid soybean and the high GABA tomato, it's already in the market. I think in the tomorrow there will be a presentation from Dr. Ezura, who is one of the developer behind the high GABA tomato. These are just examples basically to illustrate the wide range of crops and the wide range of potential benefits that these crops can bring either to the agriculture, because it will be some agronomic value behind, or directly can translate to the consumers because it improves the nutritional value, the nutritional component of the product. As we know, it's a highly researched and area. If you see just the few of the most crops where genome editing application used both research purposes. As you see, it's rice is leading. Of course, it's not by chance, because rice is one of the model crop for genome editing, but it shows the amount of work by researchers put into this area in the recent 3 years. And this is relatively a new technology, so it has a 5-6 years history in terms of the CRISPR invention and usage in plant research. So we can say that there's a high interest in them, especially from the public institution. If you a little bit zoom into the market-oriented application, which are the ones which can have in the future some products which can hit the market, I think what is the takeaway message here, again, is the diversity of the crops where research has been done, and also the diversity of the different type of application, the different type of characteristics that genome editing can improve. So it can be agronomic value, food and feed quality, biotic and abiotic stress, herbicide tolerance, and also other improvement in industrial use. So this is really democratizing the research in terms of the crop. So it's not just the high value crop, but a little bit help to close the gap on those underutilized crops, which hasn't been put so much breeding efforts in the past, but because the accessibility and relatively cheap nature of this technology make it more applicable and accessible for these type of crops as well. The other diversity, what we see, this is an example from Argentina, where there's one of the oldest regulatory framework for genome editing, and there are concrete products are going through the pipeline. It's also the diversity in the developers. So it's a lot of local, small and medium-sized companies, a lot of public researchers who are behind those products, and only a small section is for multinational companies. So I think one of the biggest message here is the potential what this genome editing application can bring to research, the diversity in crops, the diversity in the potential applications, and also the diversity of the developers. And here is some watch outs that why it's important to have this kind of enabling policies which are science-based, risk-based, and consistent across the countries, because we will have a similar patchway of regulation what we experience today with GMOs. We can have relatively the same outcome or a similar outcome, that the access will be restricted, and also the crops where this genome editing application will use also be limited. So, and as a consequence, all the research cooperation, all this hype we see nowadays around genome editing will be put at risk. And in the end, the increasing predictability and sustainability, what we all aim for working for agriculture, will be more challenges, and we obviously would like to avoid this scenario. So as a concluding slides, latest breeding methods provide opportunities to target global challenges as well as local needs, and can help us achieve sustainable agriculture production and food security. So again, the potential is there, but the further utilization will depend on the regulatory frameworks, what will be implemented in the different countries in the future. We see good alignment and positive trends, and we work for that. This will even more in the countries which are there is a question mark behind at the moment. So with that, I would like to thank you for your attention.